Coming up in this episode,
kids are seeing blindfolded. This is now a reality that we're all experiencing, witnessing. What is going on?
You already knew your children were amazing. And now it turns out they're like a whole order of magnitude, a whole octave of more amazing than you ever imagined. The Blindfold Vision is like the gateway into a whole new world.
You are now listening to the Here for the Truth podcast, hosted by Joel Rafidi and Yerasimos.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Here for the Truth. Can't believe I'm saying y'all now, bro. You fucking got me with that one.
where I got that from. I started saying it years ago, and I'm not even like from the South or anything. Y'all come back now,
bro. If I was still in Sydney, say y'all. Oh man, I'd be getting some awkward looks for sure. Guys, you know we love to break ground here at Here for the Truth. You know we love to have cutting edge conversations. You know we love to blow minds, and today is absolutely no exception. We've kind of been sitting on this information and knowledge for a while, just kind of waiting for the opportune time to have the conversation. And there's no doubt that this is the time for sure. So Dr. Edith Ubuntu Chan returns for a second time to join us here on Here for the Truth and talk about how now all around the world, kids are beginning to see blindfolded. And we talk about how this is purely just the starting point and the threshold for what's possible and what is awakening across all of humanity and the consequences of everything that is taking place at this point in time. So all that being said, strap yourself in. Enjoy this episode. Dr. Edith Ubuntu Chan is a teacher of consciousness and human potential, a holistic Chinese medicine doctor, author, speaker, coach, mama of two luminous kids. Her journey began in 2003 after a series of meditation-induced mystical experiences that changed her perspective of human possibilities forever. Since then, she has devoted her life to unlocking the secrets to our human potential. Her work weaves together ancient wisdom with the new science of consciousness, medicine, and spirituality. Dr. Edith first joined us nearly 3 years ago now on the 5th of June, 2022. That's episode 73. If you want to get really deep into Edith's story, her hero's journey, her personal awakening journey, I would definitely recommend episode 73. And it's amazing to have her back again. Here she is. Welcome, Dr. Edith.
So happy to be here, and I'm so proud and so inspired by all the beautiful things you guys have built and the growth of your community and just the general badassery that you guys are bringing to the world. I'm so happy to see you guys.
Yeah, so good to see you too. Thank you so much for joining us. It's so great to spend some time with you in Confluence. 2 weeks ago now? It was so much fun, and yeah, just love everything you're about. Love the energy that you bring forth and everything you do, and I just feel really blessed and grateful to know you and to call you a friend. And excited to have this conversation about something that I was excited to have. I just didn't know when the right time was to have it because I felt like there was a little secrecy behind it, initially. This special powers.
Out of the bag. The secret is out. The movement is on. People are waking up to their beautiful innate possibilities now. It's all happening right now.
Okay. Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's I still don't know how to kind of broach the conversation, how we begin it. I think the best place to start, Yerasimos, is kind of how you came into it and how you shared this information with me, and then how this bridges into everything that's happening now. So, Yerasimos, you want to share your first encounter with this incredible magic, this human potential that, is now coming into the fray?
Yeah, it's really interesting because as someone who's pretty open-minded, I also have a part of me that's quite skeptical. And I was at an Acapulco, not this past February, but the February before. And I don't know what day it was, but I was just outside, like hanging out, listening to music. And Alec comes up to me. He's like, bro, you got to come see this. And I'm like, what? Okay. I followed him to I guess the little green room they had then. And I just walk in and I see a boy on a phone playing a video game. And he's wearing a Mindfold eye mask, which I have. I use those. And I was like, what is going on here? And then they just kind of went through and said, this kid can see blindfolded. And I went, wait, what?
So
See,
for the camera, it looks like this. This is the blindfold, and then inside it looks like this.
Yeah, Sophie and I have had those for years that we use them just for, if we put it at night or if we're on vacation, the light comes in where we're staying, things of that nature. And we'll get into why you probably use those specifically. Is it because you can open your eyes while you're still in them? Yeah. And so we're there in this green room and I'm seeing, I forget his name, but it was Anna Maria's son. And I'm sitting there like, this can't be possible. Like he's standing up there, we're throwing things at him and he's just catching that. And I'm like, no, let me go put this on. You have to be seeing through it somehow. I put it on, people throw things at me and I'm like, it just hits me right in the face. And so anyways, we go through this process. Multiple people observe it. We're all sitting there like mouths like down to hear like, what is going on? What is happening? Like it made me question so much about what this reality is, what we're capable of. And I was like, how do I learn this? Because I just think it's fascinating. Anyways, so then I think I don't know if I texted you then or we talked about it afterwards. I just let you know what was going on. And I was blown away. And I heard through the grapevine that you did this as well and that your children were activated in this manner. But I know in the beginning, it was like, let's keep this kind of hush hush. Now's not the time for this knowledge to come out there. So besides sharing it with some few friends and telling Joel and even telling my brother, it wasn't something that I got on like a podcast and said what I'm saying right now.
yeah. And then I guess so me upon first hearing this, obviously incredibly mind blown. And then all of a sudden, Edith comes out with a blindfold vision training for children. And so my eldest daughter, Valley, she completed around maybe between 2 and 3 months ago. And from that first class, I think within 10 minutes after certain exercises, she was easily depicting colors, seeing through a blindfold. And I remember Alyssa was literally standing right here. Valley was on camera. I was at the door just watching what was happening. And it's unfathomable to witness in real life and in reality. And then obviously you had the amazing presentation with a bunch of the kids at Confluence. And this was kind of, the foray into the mass public as to what is really happening and what is going on. So I guess the first question, Edith, kids are seeing blindfolded. This is now a reality that we're all experiencing, witnessing. What is going on?
Yeah, the time has come for this to become commonplace in our world, I feel. So I first heard about this before I had kids. The first time I heard about this, I think, was 2011. I was at a meditation retreat with Drundalo Melchizedek, and he shared about it's the system that Dr. Anna and her kids are trained in. It's called extraocular vision, based in Mexico, and is popular in the Spanish-speaking countries. And I kept trying to reach out to them and figure out if I could study with them. And it was only Spanish language offerings most of the time. And later on, you guys know my story of being convinced to conceive my child. And that he shared preconception that this new generation of children will show through their example a new way of being human.
So Kabreem, your eldest boy, shared this with you, preconception.
Preconception in the dreams and meditations, because I was so hesitant to become a parent, and so was my partner Dave. And at the time, we kept saying, like, we don't agree with the old paradigms of parenting, old paradigms of education, and it's just like we just don't want to participate in that, and we're probably not cut out to be parents. And so my child comes in through dreams and says, that's exactly why we want you as parents. All of you guys that disagree with the old ways of doing, but the new way, we can't just talk about it. We need bodies. We need to be incarnated into your family to show you new possibilities. So could you please give us a body? Could you please conceive us so that we can participate in this beautiful wave of change to share with the world all these new possibilities? So that was 2013. That he convinced us to conceive him. And he was conceived in 2014. And now he's 10 and a half. And he's at Confluence playing chess, blindfolded, and doing Rubik's Cube, speed Rubik's Cube blindfolded together with Dr. Anna's voice at Confluence and with all these other amazing luminous kids. And here we are. It's all happening right now.
It's pretty amazing because when I obviously first saw it, I was blown away. And then when Joel and Alyssa and Valley, of course, Valley took the class and he was sending, look, Joel just froze for a second. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I got you. I'm here.
Okay, cool. You froze for me. When Joel sent videos to me and I was like, whoa, this is wild. And I sent it to my brother. I was like, listen, Spiridon's at the exact age, the ripe age right now. Because you say like 5 to 11. I don't know if you've extended that. I don't know what the reasons are. You can get into that. And so I had sent it to them a few times. It was like, enroll him in the class and see what happens. And again, I was blown away because like first class, he's activated and then you're testing some things out and he's reading things off of a screen completely blindfolded. Like, what is going on here? That's the other question. What is happening? How is this happening? Is there some type of explanation of, are they tapping into, like, is it telepathic? Are they seeing outside? Is it remote viewing kind of thing? I'm just blown away.
Yeah, maybe I can finish sharing the backstory a little bit, because how I came into understanding this work and so deeply passionate about it that I basically cut back on everything else that I'm doing so that I'm full-time immersed in this body of work now. This is my life now. So in 2020, that documentary Superhuman, which I highly recommend, came out, and I watched it with my then 5-year-old boy, and I have a brand new newborn, at that time. And with 2020 and all the shutdown stuff, after watching the documentary and seeing this, it features all these different groups around the world that teach children and also adults too, but mostly children, the ability to see blindfolded with many different methods that are available around the world, and they all seem to work. And so my boy at the time, 5 years old, he sees this and he instantly says, Mama, I think I could do it. Could we maybe take a class? Or I want to do this. I think I can do it. And so Carolyn Corey, who is the documentary filmmaker, hosted my now very good friend and collaborator, Bodan, for just a one-time class. And because of COVID shutdowns, they experimented for the first time to offer a program over Zoom. And we didn't know if it would work because traditionally it's always in person. And we these open-minded parents, we all just figured out how to make it work. And to my shock and surprise, just like for you guys, with your nephew and your girl, the first time within 10 minutes of doing some breathing exercises, my 5-year-old starts telling me all the colors, like what is going on, and I'm mind blown. And then it progressed gradually to all the phases of big sheets of paper to medium objects to smaller objects to reading books to seeing 360 degrees. I'm like, what? And then I'm sharing with people, and you bump into people being like, well, what is this for? What good is this? Are they cheating? Are they peeking under the mask? All this skepticism. So we kind of just let it be. But over the years, I kept in touch with Bodan. And so gradually over time, when people were open, we would share the blindfold vision and maybe teach the kids some of the steps. And we're seeing that kids at a certain age just take to this quite naturally. And I get in touch with Bodan and say, I think the time is right for us to actually start sharing this. And he said, do you think you can get 3 or 4 people, maybe 5 people together? I was like, dude, I got at least thousands for you, He's like, really? So we put our hearts and minds together because by now, this is a couple years ago. By that point, I had focused so much on my work on the new paradigm of education and parenting that I had accumulated the most beautiful families in my community of very conscious, very attuned, very awake and aware families. And so traditionally, the blindfold vision training is usually done so that it's like, keep the parents out of the way. You drop off your kid in person, and a facilitator trains them through a sequence of exercises to train their intuitive vision. It's sometimes called extraocular vision, sometimes called mind sight, sometimes called intuitive vision. I just call it Luminous Kids Blindfold Vision class. It's like we put on a blindfold and we see. So I didn't want to give it some special name because it's as special as learning to bike and learning to swim is an innate human ability. And there's no need for us to, trademark protect this. It's just part of our human experience, So what is unique in our approach is that because we have these beautiful families, we find that integrating the moms and dads into the experience is actually adding a lot to the experience. Whereas traditionally, all the methods out there usually say, keep the parents out of the way. They might screw it all up. Just drop off the kid, let the facilitator do their work, usually probably like 10 sessions. And then your kid has this superpower activated, and then they give you the kid back. And so the parents are often mind blown, but they may not be equipped with the skills to keep nurturing these abilities. So Buddha and I put our heads, minds, and hearts together and thought through all of this stuff and thought, okay, how can we integrate these beautiful families that we have in the community? And also, what are all the, there's a lot of little technical details to work out a really smooth experience to offer a program like this over Zoom so that we can reach all the families around the world. So, for example, training the moms and dads so that they can interface with the kids, like do activities like 360 degrees, because the screen is only in front. But as you guys know, the kids are able to perceive things from the side of their head, behind the head, into the other room. So you need somebody to kind of keep expanding their abilities that is, in person with the kids. So that's why we designed this program. So it's 6 weeks. The first week and the 6 weeks, we go deep with the families. Especially the first week, the moms and dads basically learn how to facilitate, the basics of how to facilitate. And then the core 4 weeks, we work together with the moms and dads. So it's me and Budan and the moms and dads, and we do small group training. We go into one-on-one breakout activities. And so the kids get to be part of a community, and they also get tons of one-on-one support. And so that's why we're able to get these amazing results in only 4 weeks instead of, say, 10 weeks.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, the parents get together and they debrief together, and we get to really process the mind-blowing experience of accompanying your children, that you already knew your children were amazing. And now it turns out they're like a whole order of magnitude, a whole octave of more amazing than you ever imagined. And to debrief that together with a community of moms and dads, and to keep nurturing that and keep that community going afterwards with aftercare for all these families, really what we're experiencing here is that the Blindfold Vision is just like a portal into a whole new world of possibilities. And what we're doing is creating a community around this so that we can keep nurturing these abilities. And the Blindfold Vision is like the gateway into a whole new world.
Yeah. And I'd like to add, beyond 360 vision and into other rooms, I've had experiences with Valley being on FaceTime. I'm in Mexico with family in Australia. And for example, her grandmother would be off camera and she'd know what color shirt her grandmother is wearing off camera, thousands of miles away across the country. And then I do experiments with my nieces in Australia where they're holding objects off camera. And Valley knows what objects she's holding, knows the colors of the objects. And I don't get it. I don't get it. So if you can for us, I guess your best attempt to describe for whoever's listening what is taking place, because also, these children, they're reporting seeing in different ways, right? Some kids claim to see through their mind, through their third eye. Some kids are feeling colors. Some kids are smelling colors and objects. So what is going on?
Now, a short break from the episode.
Hope you're enjoying this incredible conversation with Dr. Chan. Just want to quickly intervene to let you know that if you are looking for a home, a community, a place where you can connect, where you can learn, where you can be real, where you can laugh, where you can be yourself. And I'm so proud of what we're cultivating inside our membership community, Friends of the Truth, at the incredibly accessible price of $17 per month, which is nothing in the scheme of things. When you think about what you spend $17 on, for that, every single 30 days, you will get 5 live calls, an incredible resource library full of knowledge already existing, and just an awesome community that you can connect with, engage with, see you, and hold you. So if you love what we're about, then, Friends of the Truth is what we're about, just on steroids, with people who are like us, who share our values, who are real, who are funny, who are authentic, and who are living on fire. So you can check all that out at hereforthetruth.com/FOTT.
Back to the episode.
So I've had people say, well, how do you teach the kids this? The answer is we don't. We just hold the field of possibilities, and we have a very methodical progression of fun games. They're like meditative fun games that invites the blossoming of these abilities that are already available to every human being. And because kids don't have all this preconceived notions and limitation programs and belief structures yet, they're like, well, I can learn to bike, I can learn to swim, I can learn to see through a blindfold. What's the big deal, And so we just go through a methodical progression of fun activities, and they're tapped in and tuned in. And it's like, in the beginning, there is this, they're just trying things out. So they get it incorrect and they get it correct. And so this is a huge piece that ripples into the rest of our parenting and education journey, which is that getting it incorrect is as valuable as getting it correct. Mm-hmm. So the kids put on the blindfolds, we do some guided meditative breathing and some other exercises. And then in the beginning, we just show them one color sheet of paper at a time, very slowly. At Confluence, when we demonstrated, the kids are already doing all these things like Rubik's Cube and speed chess and all of this, but these kids have been doing blindfold vision for years. We start slowly with just one color sheet at a time. And so if they get it incorrect, it's like, hey, were you guessing with that one? If they get it correct, you say, yeah, you got it, and you celebrate. So you are joyful and celebratory when they get it incorrect, as much as you're when they get it correct. So this is a huge piece of us reprogramming as moms and dads and teachers and educators to not poo-poo on things when we get it incorrect, because we're learning, this is what it feels like when I'm guessing, second guessing, overthinking, when I'm not attuned to my intuitive vision. And this is what it feels like when I'm like, it feels like, is it orangish red somewhere in that spectrum? Or is it somewhere in the blues and greens, aquamarine, turquoise-ish? Now you encourage the kid and say, hey, you're in the right ballpark. Keep going. Take a deep breath and boom, what do you get? And then they get really precise. They go, is neon yellow? Is, like lavender purple? Is turquoise or is baby blue? They get real precise, and it's like, boom, now you're seeing. So we keep encouraging them, and they get one color, second color, 8 colors, 9 colors, 20 colors in a row correct. You're like, wow, you are really seeing. However, the kids are sometimes telling us they see it from here, they see it from here, some of them smell it, some of them taste it. It's a journey of co-discovery. It's like, how's your system wired? It turns out that just about everybody has what's called synesthesia, right? The conventional world would say that synesthesia is some kind of disorder, but it's actually a superpower. And we're learning from these kids that they are able to convert energetic information, and sometimes we're not totally sure why, but when there's good lighting, especially in the beginning, in the early parts of your activation, if you're outdoors or next to a window with natural full spectrum sunlight, somehow it enhances this ability. Even though we're not seeing with our physical eyes, maybe there's some kind of photoreceptor mechanism on your skin that can then transfer that the photonic information into visual information in your brain. We don't fully understand the mechanism of action, but the kids that can smell it and taste it and all these different senses that are awakening is telling us that basically we're probably all synesthetic, and this is like a trained ability to tap into that synesthesia so that we don't necessarily need to see with our physical eyes, but all the other senses can get heightened and we can take fuller advantage of all of our senses.
Wow. You're asking us, do you have a definition of synesthesia right there?
I don't have I don't have the definition. I was looking at something else. But I mean, I guess I do actually. Perceptual phenomenon where stimulation of one sensory pathway leads to involuntary experiences in another. For example, a person might see colors when hearing music, taste shapes, or associate numbers with personality, something of that nature. I wasn't looking for that. I was just I was wanting to research one of the quote unquote autistic savant examples of, I think his name was Daniel Tammet or something, where he like was able to, I don't know if this is the guy, I've heard someone else, where he's able to recite pi like for hours and hours and hours and hours, like through God knows
Like
how
more
many
than
decimal
20,000 digits long.
yeah, exactly. And I think for him, he's seeing colors, I think, is what helps him. So that's what I wanted to look up real quickly because it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating to me.
So here's the thing that I shared in Confluence about the senses. Yerasimos, you're about to say something. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, keep going.
Okay, so about the senses. So conventional medicine would say that even conventional medicine would say we have more than 5 senses now, right?
Mhm.
Traditionally, we're taught in school. I don't know if anybody that listens to this podcast actually goes to school anymore. But the 5 physical sensors: sight, sound, taste, touch. What's the other one?
Smell.
Smell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those 5 physical senses. But in conventional 3D, like allopathic medicine, they would still say there's like proprioception, thermoception, nociception, the sense of pain, interoception, the internal sensing of your internal state of being. What are all the ceptions? A sensing of the passage of time. Would that be called temporoception, electroception, magnetoception, the sense of someone staring at you is a sense that's documented now.
Yeah.
There's all these different senses, something like 20 to 30. I don't know that there's an agreement on how many senses a human being has, even in the 3D physical materialist realm of medicine. And then you add to that all the intuitive senses now, right? Like clairvoyance, clairsentience, clairaudience, all the clairs. There's sense of smell, so that would be called clairolfactance.
Yeah, clairkinesthesia too.
Clairkinesthesia, clairgustance. There's all the clairs. So there's the physical level, and then there's the clair level of all of these same senses. And then once those circuitries are enlivened and awakened, and you exercise these muscles again and wake it back up, then we're talking about a civilization of human beings where we can actually practice telepathy. And even the telepathy has multi-level sensory experiences too. Many of us have had the experience of like, it just like a visual image hits you.
Mm-hmm.
And so wouldn't you call that televoyance? Right?
I mean,
Telesentience, olfactance, telegustance, teleaudience. Like sometimes you can transfer packets of information between 2 sentiences with each other, and it's all the senses can get engaged, right? And so this is why telepathy is going to be wonderful, because that is going to be the prerequisite for a more peaceful world. There's less misunderstandings. Because language can sometimes be so limiting and we misunderstand each other's meanings behind things. But when we get more clairvoyant, clairaudience, all the clairs come online, then we can see deeper layers of truth, and we engage all the senses in a more awakened and heightened way. So we get, we can discern truth so much clearer. And then you get 2 people that are really good at discerning truth, communicating in these multisensory ways, then there's no confusion, there's no misunderstanding. And I believe that this is the path to a more peaceful world.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I think back to when I was younger, and I've shared this before, I think maybe on one podcast. I can't tell you the number of times when I used to be watching TV and I would just turn the channel, but before I would turn the channel, I'd have the flash of a movie and I'd press the button and then that movie would be on.
Yes.
That movie would be on. That happened a lot of times. It doesn't happen anymore, probably because I'm not using a remote control and I'm probably been conditioned in some ways. But even one time in New York City 15 years ago, my buddy was in town. I'm in New York City and I'm standing in front of a Subway. And right before, like, the Subway just arrived, and then his face flashed in front of me, and the Subway doors opened and he comes out. And this is in New York City. We didn't plan to meet at this specific stop. It was just quote unquote random. And then a couple precognitive dreams that I've had. But yeah, nothing to the level that some people have. But I have memory of these experiences. And it's like, if I've had them, a bunch of times, that capacity is still within me. It's just maybe been repressed, or, it's just not as present within me. So I'm absolutely amazed at what these children are doing and all these other things that we're witnessing. It's incredible.
Erasmus and I don't even have business meetings anymore. We're just, on the same page constantly.
Well, you make a joke, but
it's true.
Joel and I joke now because we spend all this time together. We send each other texts at the same exact time, very often.
the same
subject, very often same words. On podcasts, we're about to ask the same question at the same time often. So yeah, it's really interesting. And then it also kind of like you spend all this time with someone, it makes sense. And then the one thing that we've noticed, even just from the telepathy tapes and other things, is that like the mother-child relationship feels like so connected when it comes to this kind of stuff. I don't know if you want to talk on that at all. I don't know if you're seeing that too, even with like the blindfold vision. Like, are you finding that like kids that are activated, then like their parent maybe gets activated too in some degree, or not at that level?
Yeah, this is so we've had a ton of demand for our adult blindfold vision training, and we have wonderful colleagues that we've been sending people to, and they do amazing work and they get great results. However, usually it's like 6 long days, and then each practice session is many hours long. And we're noticing that when the kids get activated and they're like, Mom and Dad, do you want to play? And the moms and dads play along, put on the blindfold. The kids are coaching the moms and dads, and the moms and dads are seeing the colors 100% now, very quickly. And some of them are seeing smaller and smaller objects and shapes. And traditionally, that takes much longer, not just like 10 minutes with your kid just playing with you. So there's maybe some quantum entanglement between the child and the parent. And then there's just that loving bond that facilitates it with the mom and dad. And also the kids hold a field of energy, because the kids are so good at this that within the household, maybe if you've got 2 kids that's been activated, you've already tipped over well into the 100th monkey effect within your household. Right? So you just spontaneously activate in the presence of the kids doing it so joyfully and naturally. And then very importantly, we keep finding that the secret sauce to success is to not be so darn serious. And so the kids are goofy and silly and joyful and playful, and they help us to remember to be like that again. And they're the best facilitators, because they're really getting very high success rates activating the adults.
Yeah.
So the work that we're doing is really not just about the kids. It's about the ripple effect into all of mankind that is awakening right now through the leadership of these kids.
Edith, I know that the kids are perceiving in a multitude of manners, but are you able, as best as you can, to kind of walk through from the child's experience what could be happening, what they're seeing behind the mask, what's going on, in order for these visuals and these images to be formed in front of them?
Yeah. So the very first session, we put on the blindfold, we guide them through some practices to shift their state of being. And then we just play. We give them pieces of paper and we see if they can see. And in the beginning, you'll notice that we don't always correct the kids right from the get-go. We're just kind of like giving them a chance to calibrate and to try it out. And then we might just give them another color. And then at some point they're like, wait, I'm seeing something. Or I think this one is orange. And we go, yes. What about this one? Is it green? Yes. And so every child is different. Very often some kids have a window of perception open up here or here or here, or 2 windows. And then we have very precise and specific ways to link up the windows and get it bigger and bigger. So that's where the special protocols of exercises and techniques to kind of, as the windows, they usually start really small. It's like a little tiny dot even. But through that little dot, they can see with 100% accuracy with the colors now. You're like, you got it, you got it. So
with the window, is it basically just like seeing? Because like Valley, for example, she can just have the blindfold on and walk around the house and live her normal life, like blindfolded if she wanted to. Like, no
maybe
issue.
we should have her on this podcast. and ask her.
I thought about it. I would, yeah.
But like, I'm just so curious, what is she experiencing? Because it seems to me like she's just seeing. Like, is that what's happening for her?
Well, I can't know for sure. What I've learned from all the kids is they all have slightly different experiences, and some kids have one window, 2 windows, 3 windows. Some kids have a whole band. My sensing with Valley is that she got to the point where she has a 360-degree band of perception completely open. My kids still has like different chunks. They're not all contiguous. So this is where every kid is different. And I want to be cautious in setting expectations because Valley was really exceptional in her abilities. And it's not all the same. Eventually, all kids can get to Valley's level, but how quickly she got activated and how quickly she got all 360-degree perception. My older one has been doing this for years, and he still doesn't have the same level of 360-degree perception that Valley does. So just to set expectations that everyone is different. Everyone ends up seeing to some degree, but some kids tend to be really good at the broader perception, and some kids tend to be better at the precision of seeing smaller and smaller objects, smaller and smaller fonts. And some kids just naturally are good at seeing remote viewing into the other room, even more so than seeing objects in front of them. Everyone is different. So it's not about like, it's not a competition. It's not us trying to like get, if you get this result, then you pass, otherwise you fail. It's just we're having fun with this, and we have this experience of discovering your kids' innate abilities, and every kid shows different things. Many of the kids, they may not during class have a really clear seeing, but then outside of class, they have big breakthrough experiences. Some of the kids, because this opens interesting conversations as a family, they start opening up about how, Mama, Papa, when I'm at the store, I can see everyone's energy bodies. I can see that person has a back pain. That person has a knee problem. That person's neck is injured. I can see it because the color is like this. So it opens all this beauty and magic as a family to co-discover what your kids' innate gifts and abilities are. So it was way beyond the blindfold.
Yeah,
it would be.
Go.
I was gonna say it'd be so fascinating, like, to observe that in action and like have like your kid or one of these kids go up to someone in a supermarket and like, hi, my name is like, is your knee okay? Are you like, and then they're like, what is going on? What like, it just is mind blowing to me. Like,
so that is something that when that comes up, we're careful to make sure that the kids know that they don't need to be going around like diagnosing everybody.
Totally.
Like there's like karmic things too. We don't want to get into people's businesses. Just like if someone is a stranger and they got spinach dangling from their teeth, you might be cautious about being like, hey, you got spinach in your teeth. Like, is it appropriate? And so on. Especially when it comes to people's health issues, we want to be careful not to like give unsolicited medical advice to strangers at the store. But it's beautiful to hear the kids telling us all the things and the kids remembering about in utero experience in mom's bellies and before their incarnation. It's so many magical, beautiful conversations have opened up for the families that attend our programs way beyond Blindfold Vision.
For the record, I'm always that person that tells someone there's something in their teeth because I want them to tell me, but that's just me. I would want them to tell me.
Edith, do you think like, is this a skill that we have always had, or is this kind of like an upgrade that is kind of coming in at this particular point in time for whatever reason, for something that's happening planetarily, something we're experiencing, something required? Like, is this something that's always been there dormant, or is this like something new that's coming into the fray of consciousness?
Well, in the ancient yogic practices and the Qigong practices, these extrasensory abilities have always been documented throughout the millennia. However, it does seem like, doesn't it, that we're in a new time, a new energy, where there's a mass consciousness shift that is happening that is really open to these possibilities now.
Yeah.
So I, as part of my research on this topic, I could only find like 7 or 8 books on this topic, and I read all of them cover to cover. And some of the older books, here's one. This guy, Lloyd Hopkins, he mostly worked with visually impaired or blind people back in the 80s and 90s. And he said that if I can get an adult and I can work with them X hours a week, every single week for at least this many years, I can get them to see. So I think the consciousness is different now. People are getting results much faster, probably because we've tipped over close to the 100th monkey effect.
So
The theory is still the same. The possibility has been there for a long time, but is awakening very joyfully and naturally for many more people right now than it used to.
So could a blind person be trained to see again?
That's what I was thinking.
That is a lot of these techniques for working with this commonly called mind sight is from the research of helping visually impaired people or totally blind people get back their activities of daily living through this technology of consciousness that is available to everybody. So I was just speaking with a colleague of mine that I'm working together with to plan the adult blindfold vision training programs that I'm not ready to announce yet, but we're working on something right now. And she was just fresh off of working with some blind people. One person she shared with me that has actually one whole eye missing, and are able to see clearly through both sides now, blindfolded or not blindfolded. And they even put patches. And like you will see if you research this stuff, it's like just to make sure you're not cheating, tape a bunch of patches over and put like the pirate's eye patches over it, and then the mindfold over it, maybe 2 or 3 layers of mindfold over it, just to make sure you can't be cheating and still people see,
Wow.
I mean, this is just such a like profound shift that flips everything on its head. And this is now like objective reality. I mean, this destroys some of the primary pillars of so much of what we have thought to believe as fact.
Well, yeah, like
human history
through this eyeball, like this is how we see, but then we cover it and yet we can still see. And I love that you brought up that book about the blind people, because I don't think I thought about that as a possibility. And it's just amazing what can occur. These people that if they put in the time and the energy and the training, that they may get to a point where they can walk around their house or interact with people and see.
Well, I don't want to give liability to your show, but in the book, it talks about how to get the blind person to pass a driving test, like a very methodical progression of activities to get them to the point where a blind person, possibly with no eyeballs, could drive a car.
Hang on. So the eyeball isn't required.
Eyeballs are not required.
Well, it can't be. How would they be required if you're covering them completely? Like
I don't know. There's still some kind of technology.
You're rendering them. Yeah, useless to some degree. Of course, I love to make jokes, and I immediately went to like you can like this could be like a performance enhancing thing for like Special Olympics. Like you sign up under the blind, category, and then you like win the gold medal. That's where my mind goes.
The last round of kids' classes that we graduated in April, all the kids were like, yep, we cleaned up at the Easter egg hunt. Like all of our kids, we start the kids class saying, hey kids, how was your week? Did you do fun things with your blindfold vision practice? What did you learn about yourself? And we just go around the circle real quick to check in, and then we do our class, and we end the class with what did you love about the class today? And just to check in with the kids periodically. And that one week, the kids were all like, yep. We was just like no contest at the Easter egg hunt because the the kids that can do it, or at the piñatas, they're hitting the piñatas at the birthday parties. It's like they put on the blindfold, and it's like, what difference does it make?
I know.
There.
Well, it makes you question too, like the parameters, or like, they're not cheating. They have these skills, so it's like, how do you change the rules of the game? Like, I don't know. It's
I mean, like, obviously
incredible.
I raised in our post parents call, I'm looking forward to taking Valley to Vegas eventually. It's like, what happens to the gambling industry if like thousands of people can now see blindfold? They can see the next card coming. They can see what the river is. They can see what the turn is. They can see what cards they have on a blackjack. It's like,
Joel, we got to cut this out, bro. I can't believe you're talking about this right now. Okay,
but it's like it challenges like so much. Like the world is going to have to shift like in radical ways as a result of more people, having this skill developed.
Yeah, I mean, it will come to the point where all of those, so many things become obsoleted. But one of the first things that becomes obsoleted is that, as you know, I've been in the conversation of new paradigms of education and parenting for a very long time now. And this just blows the whole thing up. Because before this, a lot of these conscious parents are saying, I really don't like what they're doing in the school system. The one size fits all. It seems kind of disrespectful. And, but I'll work with it because there's some things I like about the school. After this, it's like, whoa, like we got to blank slate the whole thing. Who is my child? What is a human being?
Yes.
What are we doing here? What is the nature of life and reality? What is the purpose of life? What is the purpose of parenting? What is the purpose of education? All of these inquiries spontaneously awaken within the moms and dads, and it's so it just obsoletes all the other conversations now. Like, how can we improve the school system and maybe add a little bit of this or that to make it slightly better? It's like, boom, the whole blank slate, start from scratch. What is a human being? What are we doing here? What is life all about? Let's have that conversation.
Edith, do you think that part of the reason maybe we have forgotten and now we're coming back to this place of, let's say, remembering these abilities is that like materialism kind of took hold, however many years ago, like 500 years ago or so, as kind of the standard of like scientific thought and the main paradigm of how we viewed reality. And so do you think, and I don't know if the books that you've come across mention this at all, that like, I mean, you did mention it in terms of like some of the ancient Eastern texts, but do you think that's part of the reason that we've maybe lost this connection, that maybe we've become too reliant on like left-brained activity versus right-brained activity, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I don't know what's the chicken or the egg, what's the cause or the effect, and there are no victims here. I believe that as a wave of souls, we probably all agreed, let's do an experiment. Let's forget everything except for the physical materialist paradigm, and let's go deep into that experience of pretending that there's only the physical materialist worldview, and just see what happens. And then we got really sick. We got disconnected. We were unhappy. Our relationships sucked. There's a war. There's like all this suffering that we cause for ourselves. And we learn from that. And then now we're like, well, that didn't work very well. Let's try something else, right? And then I often like to say it's like a giant hide and seek game with ourselves. And we discovered that, wow, there's so much more to myself, that as limitless, eternal creator beings, we came into this physical reality and pretended to be limited small beings. And we played in the games of limitations. And then we learned what we needed to learn. And then we outgrow it. And now we're at that phase where we've outgrown the entire paradigm of physical materialism. It's like, wow, what an exciting time. We can actually be our true, expansive, authentic selves while in this physical experience of life. What does that look like? Let's have this experience now,
Well
Yeah.
said.
Yeah, beautifully said.
Since you've been doing this work, Edith, and interacting with lots of different children and their families, like what's like some of the most incredible things you've seen? I mean, obviously like being able to just see behind your head, but like, is there anything else that like you haven't mentioned that you've noticed someone have the capability that you're just kind of, I wouldn't say blown away, meaning like you don't think it's possible, but just witnessing it in front of you was just like, wow.
Well, the most incredible and inspiring stuff isn't so much about the kids' abilities, but the impact it has on the whole family. You know, many of the moms and dads are saying like, wow, that was a full-blown mystical experience for me. It blew my reality open and made me perceive life from a completely different lens now. And I'm looking at all of life differently. And at the end of class, we often ask the kids, you know, what did you love the most about these last 4 weeks of classes together? And very often the kids say, well, it's like really cool that I can do all this stuff. But the very first day that I started seeing was the coolest because I didn't know that what that would be like. Or someone would say, the coolest part was that first time when I actually started to be able to read a book and I was able to read the book and then I was able to look through my blindfold and see my mom's face as I was reading the book. And all of that was so special and funny and fun. Sometimes the kids will say, well, my favorite part is that my dad didn't believe any of this stuff, but now he does. I'm sorry to just make generalizations. Often it's the moms that are more open-minded, right? And the dad is like, is this a waste of money? What is this a scam? You know? And then the mom believes and holds the cocoon of safe space for the kids to open their abilities. That is a big issue that we aikido with in the program. It's like, how do we create the energy to support the child when there are family members that are skeptical about it, and to make sure that they get more stable, because it can create blocks for the child to feel like, well, now am I picking sides? If mom believes and dad doesn't believe, like that can be awkward for the child, you know? So we are very careful to filter for that in our application form now. And then in the families coaching sessions in the beginning and the end, we really spend a lot of energy addressing how to create the supportive, nurturing environment for the kids' abilities to really blossom. So those are some of the really fascinating dynamics that I'm learning from. But one of my favorites is at the end of class, this one girl said, you know, my favorite part about class was to see that even though I'm still little, I can do amazing and powerful things. And that made me tear up, you know?
Yeah.
Because and all of us that were listening were like, yeah, we all remember when we were kids and the adults would talk down to us, you know, and somehow that we took in this smallness that we carry well into adulthood, that we forget that, yeah, the kids, you know, a lot of times the adults look to kids, they talk down to the kids like, what do you know? You're just a kid. Well, the kids freaking know a lot. They maybe know more than us. They have direct knowing.
Yeah.
They don't have all of this limitation programming and MK Ultra mind control yet. So the kids know a lot and they're incredible and amazing and powerful. And for these kids to be part of a community of not just themselves, but to be knowing that there are other kids that they're part of a community with, and a group of families and parents all across the world that see the kids for how amazing and powerful they are. What's this new generation going to look like if all their lives they know themselves to be amazing and powerful, and to keep nurturing it instead of having to suppress it, and then later you're 30, 40, 50 to have to rediscover your magic and beauty and the potency and power that you carried all along.
Yeah.
You had spent decades suppressing it only to rediscover it. This new generation of children is going to be freaking amazing. I'm so excited to witness them grow up.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
So like it seemed to me as like a parent who was observing the skill develop in his child, like a big part of it was the child like value discerning between what is her intuitive knowing and when is she guessing, when is she like intuitively knowing. And so what do you see in terms of this overall just strengthening the intuition of an individual, which bleeds out into all facets of their lives beyond just I'm seeing blindfolded, you know?
Yeah, so this is also why it's so rich for us to keep in touch as a community. We had an alumni call where we had the kids that graduated from the program just to drop in and do blindfold vision practices, like just fun and games. So the kids all came from different classes and sections and they dropped in and we played some games. It's kind of like an impromptu class. And we go around the circle and ask the kids like, how's life been since you activated this amazing ability? And the kids will share different things with us. And we often hear from the kids saying, like, well, since class, when my high self talks to me, I listen and I can hear it much more clearly. And so the kids will tell us a lot of these kids are self directed learners to begin with. This is a really special community. But the moms and dads are telling us that, yeah, it's been even more easeful and joyful because my kid is so clear in their inner compass that they know exactly what they want to learn and how they ask us exactly how to support them on their self-directed learning journey because their inner compass has been extra enhanced after this training. So there's not like indecisiveness, wishy-washiness, like I know what is right for me, I know what is not right for me, and I also can discern so clearly which teachers or facilitators or classes or programs are right for me and not right for me because I can see that, for example, let's say everybody loves music. We all want to take music classes or, take lessons with a music teacher. It's such a beautiful part of life. However, so much of it is about which music teacher you want to expose your child to, right? Do they have the right intention, the right consciousness, good vibes, good energy? So that compass for those kinds of things, like which teacher is right for my child, that gets enhanced and strengthened. So there's just a lot less confusion, a lot more clarity in all aspects of life after this.
Yeah, Joel and I are big proponents of self-esteem. It's part of the work that we do. And it's just, even hearing you talk, it just seems like learning this blindfold vision capacity and everything that it impacts, it just impacts the child's self-esteem. Like you said, I'm little, but I can do great and powerful things. I mean, that core belief that's there at a young age, it does bleed into the things that they go on to do, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 years down the road, which is so powerful.
I mean, everything, like the jobs that they accept, the careers that they pursue, the partners that they, welcome into their lives, their friendship circles. Like, I mean, this is monumental for all these compounded decisions, which ultimately makes a person's life.
Yeah, that's why it's so incredible. Yeah, you go.
Budan is my co-facilitator with our Luminous Kids program, and he activated his child when his daughter was 13 and she's now in her early 20s. She's graduating from university, making big decisions with life and all of that stuff. And so he often talks about, as a young woman, for her, that's where it really has been valuable. She tunes into her blindfold vision state and she can tell which roommates to house with, what degree to study, what job to take. All of that inner compass stuff is honed since she was an early teen, and she's been using that ability to make all of these young adult decisions all the way into the rest of her life. She has this ability now. Amazing. So it's like, what, sometimes people are like, why, what good does this do? Right? It's like, what good does this not do? What aspect of life could this not touch once this ability is awakened within you?
Yeah. I'm going to ask just, so we can have a more rounded conversation. Do you see any potential dangers or pitfalls with opening up this sensory vision? Have there been any examples of, people might be concerned of, opening up to other things, maleficent things, et cetera, et cetera? Is there any warning labels at all that need to come along with this?
So far, we've kept it so that the kids are very much embodied. They're doing a guided meditation, so they're tapped into a super coherent flow state. And so because they're fully embodied and very present, it's not like they're astral traveling, having out-of-body experiences, traveling across dimensions and so on. We don't touch any of that kind of stuff. I know that some people have used the mindfolds to get themselves into a state where they astral travel, leave their body and all of that. And so that's where it requires a whole different level of very careful discernment and skill sets and so on. So that's not what our program is about. So we haven't touched into any of those types of issues. It's more about like staying in your body and feeling in your body. When I'm guessing or overthinking in my monkey mind state, what does that feel like? When I see clearly, what does that feel like? So far, no issues with that. And this might be, later on as we keep building up our programming, we'll very carefully, with a lot of discernment, add additional layers of training that is more advanced. Right now, it's just this. It's more like, imagine everybody in the world like cannot smell, and suddenly you can smell now. Is that dangerous? Maybe. I don't know. Like, could be. I'm not sure. But a better analogy might be like learning to swim. This is you can say this is like a first wave of human beings that are dipping their toes. And in the beginning, we're just kind of doing a little doggy paddle in the kiddie pool. And then as we get comfortable, we ease into it. So we progress very gradually into swimming. And then eventually we have a world where a whole world of fun opens up, and you can go surfing, you can go kayaking, you can become an Olympic level swimmer, you can become a scuba diver. And with each of those additional levels of skill development, you want to make sure to progress methodically and cautiously with those next levels of abilities, So we're just still in this first wave of human beings just activating, like learning to swim for the first time right now.
It's early stages. Edith, I'm curious, have you come across kids that they don't need the blindfold, so they're just normal, and then you're holding up, let's say, something that they can't see behind, and then they're able to see behind it? Or do they have to have a covering over their eye? Does that help activate it? You know what I mean? Like, for instance, someone's just living their life who's activated a kid, and you're like, I'm holding up whatever, like this. And I'm like, what's behind it? And they're able to know
how necessary is the mindfold or the blindfold?
Yeah, I mean, so this is what I mean about, it's not really about the blindfold vision. Once you're activated, it influences all aspects of your life. One example is we had this 6-year-old boy, sweet little boy, that was like such a superstar with his blindfold vision. And he was like, how is it that I'm able to see everything blindfolded so easily? And the mom was so cool. She was like, well, go ahead, check out the blindfold. And he like cuts it open. He like rips it apart. He's like, it must be defective or something. Why am I able to see it so easily? And then she shares this beautiful story so she has the 6-year-old boy and then a younger toddler baby, basically, that she was like frazzled and driving into the city to an event, and with the baby and the 6-year-old, and there was lots of traffic. So she's in this frazzled state trying to find parking. They're looping around and they can't find parking. They end up going into this big parking structure. They leave the car, hustle to this event, and then they come out of the event and she's like, oh, shoot, where's the car? I don't know where we parked the car. And the 6-year-old, in this frazzled energy, has the command of himself to take his deep breaths and get himself into his blindfold vision state. A 6-year-old. And he uses his mind sight, sees the car and says, Mama, I see exactly where the car is. Let's go. And through city streets into the parking structure, brings mom to the car. So he doesn't need the blindfold. That ability just comes online whenever life is requesting it. I tell the funny story of I always say, like, my kids have this superpower ability to see blindfolded, and I have the superpower ability of losing my keys, losing my phone, and losing my glasses. So it's like the perfect synergy. I just say, all right, on the marks, get set, go. Whoever can find my glasses quickest wins. And so then we turn it into a fun game, and they're not putting on their blindfold. They can just like see.
Yeah. So I'm assuming then that you haven't picked up by being around your kids and teaching these classes that you wouldn't confidently say that you can see blindfolded, or
I can see blindfolded colors, 100% accuracy, and big shapes pretty well. I'm not reading yet though, so I'm working on it because I'd like to. I think as my abilities get more enhanced and heightened, it makes me even more effective facilitator. And also it's just all happening naturally because the kids want to practice, I want to practice, and this is an ability that I want to be nurturing also, you know.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
also
amazing.
humbled to be around the kids because they just take to this ability so quickly.
Yeah. Speaking of the timing we were talking to, where it seems as though, like, you know, these skills are coming into mainframe consciousness very quickly. We've obviously seen the rise of the telepathy tapes, which became the number one podcast listened to globally, etc. How does this correlate with what is happening and what is being witnessed with the autistic children that, you know, are being telepathic and having these dialogues and communications with one another? How do these worlds collide?
Yeah, I'm super grateful to be connected with one particular 14-year-old angel of a being. She's like an ascended being in physical form. It's an incredible experience to communicate with her. So she is an autistic telepathic savant that is teaching me things. And I don't have permission to say her name or, you know, but just to share that I'm learning so much and I'm so humbled by this. And she's taught me to really meditate on the relationship between these things. And that's why I shared earlier in this conversation how all the senses getting awakened and all the clairs getting awakened will lead to the telepathic abilities all waking up. The circuitries are coming online and they're all related to each other. So first, all of us, it's like what I shared in Confluence is like we're being de-zombified right now. It's like we all became a bunch of like dulled down, densified, deadened zombies. And we're waking up and enlivening these dormant circuitries that have gotten atrophied and deadened because of lack of use. You know, so we start with just attuning to energy sensitivities. So that's kind of stage one. Meditation is not just about de-stressing ourselves from our shitty lives that we hate. And then, you know, we go to toxic job, toxic relationship, horrible life. And then we turn on some mindfulness meditation app just to like give ourselves 5 minutes of stress relief. And then we go back to a horrible life. It's not that. It's the meditative state. It's helping us to tap back into who and what we really are. And then gradually with practice, live this state 24/7, 365. So meditation is an authentic state of being. A non-meditative state is when we're like maybe believing in a bunch of lies and living a life of lies. That would be a non-meditative state. When we're back in a meditative state, we are more truly and authentically ourselves. So these children are showing us that children naturally, innately live this state very naturally, and they're helping us to remember, you know. So with this first level of attunement and awareness, then we can become sensitive to the energies of life. And then we use blindfold perception, maybe spoon bending, telekinesis, all these different precognition games, like these so-called psi abilities. They're natural byproducts of being attuned to energetics of life and being in this coherent state of being. It just all happens naturally as a byproduct. And when we keep practicing it and strengthening our muscles in these abilities, then it gradually, like what happens when 2 people, 3 people, 10 people all come together who are energetically attuned in their coherent super flow state, telepathy is going to just happen naturally. So we've all had telepathic experiences with other people that are attuned. But what happens if more people are attuned and we have more opportunities to keep practicing our telepathy with each other? I think it's all just going to happen naturally that way. So it's a progression that I see that we're all entering into naturally in these years to come.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you. What are the things that you think might inhibit the development of these skills in children? Like, obviously, you know, technology is such a polarizing conversation in the parenting field. You know, some people are all for free use of technology. Some people think like it limits the child, distracts the child, etc. What are your thoughts on that, generally speaking, with a child interfacing regularly, for prolonged periods of times with technology? Is that something that you feel can diminish or inhibit the development of these skills? What's your stance generally on
It's
this?
funny. I don't always show my kids the comments on social media, but every once in a while I post something with my boy Kabreem, who's 10, doing blindfold vision stuff, and people are like, wow, this is so amazing. How's this possible? And people will comment, it's like, this is what's possible if your kid's not doing video games, or this is what's possible if your kid doesn't have too much screen time. And my boy has a lot of screen time and a lot of video game time. So I'm like, maybe not in this case. Like we don't really, our conversation about technology and screens. I'm so grateful for Dana Martin, who was a coach and mentor of mine early in our journey of self-directed learning and these more respectful and honoring approaches to education and parenting. It's just been a dialogue ongoingly. It's more like, well, what exactly are our objections to screens? Because my child has learned so many wonderful things because of the internet. So it's more like what Dana Martin taught me. It's like, imagine if you told your kid, if they're reading a book, that's enough paper time for you for today. It'd be absurd, right? So our conversation's more like, honey, I really want to go outside while the sunny time is still out. It's a beautiful day. I want to go for a hike. How much longer do you have for your game or for your video that you're watching?
Yeah.
And we just kind of work it out like, okay, 10 more minutes. Let's go for our hike in 10 minutes. I'll start getting dressed and get packed up. And because of this respectful dialogue, we don't have a whole like arguments and battle and all these things that are so stressful in the family dynamic. And then it's an ongoing dialogue, though, because there are things about the internet that we're kept cautious about. So we have safeguards around it, and we just keep talking about it. But I haven't found that the use of screen to detract from his intuitive and blindfold vision abilities. It just hasn't been true in my experience so far. So I feel that the new generation, the intuitive information that I get is that this new generation of children are going to be very savvy with the internet, with AI, with technology. And because they also are cultivated in their consciousness technology, they're going to participate in building beautiful solutions that harmonizes the artificial technology with the innate biological consciousness technologies in such a way that technology goes back to working for us instead of us enslaving ourselves to the technology. It is a delicate conversation right now, and I really get that. And there's a balance that every family has to find that works for their family. And I just find that the black and white blanket, technology is bad. I don't want my kids ever touching screens at all until they are, 18 years old. That's pretty much not doable in today's world. And I think it might be a disservice to some of our kids, not taking advantage of some of the beautiful gifts that technology also offers to us,
Yeah, thank you. And I appreciate you sharing that. Obviously, a few months ago, we spoke about it. We had that conversation with Aaron Stupple on raising sovereign children and his book, The Sovereign Child, which is built upon the work of Taking Children Seriously by Sarah Fitzclarridge and David Deutsch. And there were such polarizing responses from that episode. Like, what do you mean? Like, just give kids unlimited access to screens, give kids unlimited access, to food, to whatever they want. And at the core of it, it's about the child building their own reason, learning what's good for them, And it's like understanding that force has never really led to a better result than open dialogue, than building trust, than problem solving when problems arise, as opposed to mitigating a problem that hasn't happened yet,
If I may kind of like toot our own horn, so to speak, this conversation may be the missing element that satiates and satisfies your audience, because we are in an ongoing dialogue with the children with energy awareness and attunement. Like, honey, how does your body feel? And energetically, how does it feel when you eat tons of Oreos?
Yeah.
And how does eating the Oreo maybe affect your ability to do your blindfold vision games? How did the windows get bigger or smaller or clearer or blurrier after you ate 2 packs of Oreos? Did that influence it? And that's when the child will come to their own conclusions like, oh, wow, the blindfold vision is actually not about the blindfold vision, but is a type of biofeedback that tells us I'm tapping into my super coherent superpower flow state. What inhibits that and what supports that becomes so heightened and clear now that my child self-regulates on, he's like, oh, I'm turning into a tablet zombie. I better take a break because the energy awareness is there. So cultivating energy attunement, energy awareness, body awareness, intuitive awareness, spiritual awareness, cultivating those abilities will help our children make really wise choices instead of us making blanket one-size-fits-all rules that is not contextually appropriate, and it ruins the richness of our relationship with our children. To cultivate this ability is the missing ingredient in this conversation, I feel.
Yeah.
I love it. I love how the
Oreos
Oreos
are always used as the example. I feel like
It's
Oreos.
because that was such a profound part of the conversation with you eating the bowl of Oreos. That we can't talk about Oreos, but yeah, I mean, it's a good example to work with. And like those things, like greater intuition, greater spiritual awareness, greater self-discernment, like it's not built by force. It's not built by purposely withholding your kid from certain things and them just having this dogmatic understanding of dad knows the way or mum knows the way. Like, have the experience, build the discernment for yourself, like you're saying. But when we ask the right questions, when we lead with trust, when we lead with care, then it changes the dynamic completely. And like all these things are cultivated in much more richer ways through openness than they ever will be by force or coercion.
And I find that my kids tend to say like, oh, well, you've been on earth way longer than me. They will defer to me because I have some decades of experience having a human body longer than they have. So they're aware of that. And they will just ask me like, how do bodies work? And what happens if I eat 2 packs of Oreos? I'd be like, I don't recommend it. You can give it a try. We're related. So probably if it makes my body feel really sicky afterwards, it'll probably not feel so great for your body, but go ahead, give it a try, And then they're like, oh, no, thank you. And there's no struggle around it, right?
Yeah. I was just going to say, they can give Uncle Yerasimos a call. I have a lot of experience with Oreos from my youth.
Yeah. Another thing about back to your question about nurturing this ability, it was a very profound thing. We had a 13-year-old boy join our program. So as you know, we started with 5 to 11-year-old, then 5 to 12, 5 to 13, and now we're open to 5 to 14. And then now I'm working on a whole adult training program that I hope to be able to announce for the fall. Please stay tuned. So every round, I learned so much from all the groups and all the children and families. But this particular 13-year-old boy taught us so much. According to the mom, he was just a super delightful, magical child. And then entering into teenage life, he would, for the last 4 years before he became 13, always say, Mom, I'm worried about becoming a teenager. I'm afraid of losing my magic. Because even though this family's super rad, is super cool, super open-minded and attuned, the mom is amazing, our world in general doesn't nurture teenagers to go into adulthood keeping their magic alive, So here's this super magical boy that is like, I don't want to become 13. I will lose my magic. So at 13, they sign up for this class. And he has this profound experience of, wow, I am now 13 and I have my magic alive. My intuitive abilities is all here and I can carry this into teenage life and into adulthood. And it was a very profound experience for him as a teenage boy and for them as a family to know that this is something tangible, practical, concrete that he has the direct experience of. It's not an idea of like, oh yeah, maybe I can keep my magic alive. He has the direct experience of this. So they graduate the class. He's able to do all these awesome things, blindfolded, playing Legos, reading books, all kinds of fun stuff, and it's been this delightful journey. After the class, according to mom, there was a family friend that was quite skeptical, but closed-minded about all of this stuff. Erasimo said that he's kind of skeptical, but you're skeptical and open-minded, which is a really great thing. Like, ask some good questions and stay open and curious, right? So skepticism is a good thing if it's an open-minded curiosity. But in this case, it was a family friend that was like, wow, whatever he said was like, well, you must be cheating. It's not possible, this kind of stuff. And so it was an awkward conversation. This 13-year-old boy was very hesitant to share. He was kind of guarded about it. It just didn't leave him feeling good. The interaction was like kind of a downer, and he started doubting himself. The next day he puts on his blindfold, he couldn't see. All his windows of perceptions were completely blurry. The good news is that he ended up redoing all the progression of practices from the beginning, and he was able to get back his blindfold perception. By then, it was crystal clear again. He got it all fully back. And then he debriefs with mom this whole experience of like, wow, I talked to him, and then I couldn't see the next day. Because mom is such an awesome, like conscious, attuned, aware parent, they turned this into a very nice strengthening experience. And they were able to debrief and say, well, whose belief system, whose story do we choose to buy into? Is very understanding that this family friend, he hasn't had the direct experience of seeing blindfolded. So it's a possibility that is foreign to him. So it makes sense why he's doubting and skeptical. But you have had your own direct experience of this. You know your own experience. You have this ability. So what happens if you adopt somebody else's false belief that isn't actually your experience? You can actually limit your own possibilities. And if you choose to let go of their story and step back into your own power, your own experience, you can reawaken it. So that was equally as powerful a learning journey for this 13-year-old young man and the whole family, and for our whole community, hearing this story of this ups and downs that's possible. And Dr. Anna also had a similar experience with her twin boys, having had a skeptical family member say certain things, and it took them a whole month to get back their blindfold perception abilities after this skeptical family friend or whoever said whatever things to the kids, be like, it's not possible, you must be cheating, or you must be lying. The adults say all these things, and the kids can be impressionable, and they start adopting whatever the adults say, and then they can't see. Which reminds me that probably most of the audience listening to this, if you're an adult, you probably have conscious memory of being a super magical child. You probably have conscious memory of all kinds of beautiful, amazing extrasensory perceptions, expansive intuitive abilities that you also have when you were a kid. And at some point, enough adults told you that, oh, that's just your imagination, that's not real, or you must be cheating, or that's just a coincidence. Eventually we just turned off the abilities. It's like, as a little kid, you're like, well, I guess in this earth realm, they don't believe in this stuff. I guess it's not useful around here, and we just turn it off. So we're in a time now where we can turn these things back on and let it be the normal part of our human experience and create a way more beautiful, rich, and, in my opinion, much more peaceful world if we can all awaken these expansive possibilities together.
Yeah. Beautiful. I mean, it just really highlights the importance of choosing your friends wisely, the importance of what you let into your field, whose beliefs you allow to impact you, what conditioning takes place, and the power that can really have to shift your trajectory in a way that isn't aligned,
Well, you think about people who have ideas to, leave a job, start a business, and they start sharing it with the people in their world, and they get so many negative projections on it, and then they take that on, they don't do the thing.
But this is the basis of the evil eye. Ultimately, right? You share the information, you open it up, you get all these projections, then all of a sudden it's like the door closes for you.
Yeah, on one level, for sure,
Yeah.
Well,
this is a profound conversation we're having. So again, this is not about the blindfold vision. It's about our young people learning this skill of discerning truth and aligning your inner compass and and learning how to work with different limitation programs and belief systems out there, and choosing consciously to hold onto and keep expressing and nurturing your magic and the beauty and the potency that you came to bring in this lifetime. That's what this is really about.
Yeah.
Yeah. The evil eye thing is so fascinating because I grew up with it, it's such a big thing in the Greek culture. They call it tomati, the eye. And like I'd be at a family event, or let's say I took part in some performance or competition, and I'd come back, I'd be feeling a little out of it. And my mom would be like, hey, he's tomati. And she'd sit there and she'd say certain prayers to me, like for this particularly. And then she'd start yawning and her eyes would start tearing. And then like I'd feel better, like immediately. Which is really fascinating. And she passed down this knowledge to me as well. And in her tradition, she couldn't tell me them. She had to write the specific prayers on a piece of paper and hide them somewhere. And I had to like I'd have to find them on my own. And then that's how I'd have access to these specific prayers to help kind of move some of the energy from, let's say, potential projections that were put upon me. Let's say I went to a family event or whatever the case may be. So I don't know. It's just interesting to think about it. And I used to think it was kind of like crazy when my mom would do it growing up. But then when I started getting into my body work and healing practice, a while ago, one of my teachers ended up having these verbal energetic clearing processes that we would go through. And then when I would go through them, I would have the same reactions that my mom had. My eyes would start watering. I'd start yawning intensely. I was like, oh my God, this is what would happen to my mom when she would say these sub-audible prayers to me, when she would say like, the evil eye, I have all these projections on me. So I don't know what's happening there, but it's still interesting and fascinating from that standpoint. But yeah, anyways.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I think all of us on some level, when we've shared our successes, too openly with the wrong people, have then felt this withdrawal or this contraction like afterwards. I know I've definitely had that, at certain times in my life for sure.
Yeah, this is the conundrum that I face with this work. Is I feel a deep sacred responsibility to cocoon this body of work in just the precise energy that is nurturing and supportive and facilitating the kids in nurturing this. And I'm cautious about how who we share this with. Like, of course, you guys' podcast is not hell's yeah, but heaven's yeah, for sure. A community such as the kind that you're building, or Alecs community. But there's some communities that I'm not sure is right for us to expose our children to a, possibly closed-minded, skeptical energies. There are these different organizations out there that are like, here's $500,000 prize if someone can showcase an ability, and then you reach out to them and they're all about like creating the worst type of energetic environment that would be super scary and traumatizing to children. Like, so if your children can do it, they should be able to do it under these conditions where it's like we're all being mean to them and we put boxes over their head, and like the energy is like really like clinical and unfriendly, and it's like, well, in that case, the abilities, they don't want it, they shut down. And this is a similar thing that I had some chats with Dr. Diane about the telepathy work, is that the energetic environment makes a huge difference. And it's almost like the love, the joy, the harmony, the beautiful energy that we bring is the secret sauce to success.
Yeah.
Because the kids are tapping into this joyful, playful, open-hearted state. They're in a super coherent, heart-open state when they're doing this. And if it's not conducive to that, they often just shut down completely, or at least like partially shut down their abilities,
Yeah.
I love that we're having this conversation. I've been waiting to have a conversation like this. I love that you're here. I love this work. I love what you're doing. It is so magical, and it really is highlighting something just incredible, and how it can open up the minds and the hearts of people who maybe even have been shut off. Like you said, you have some of these parents, or let's say primarily dads, who have been highly skeptical, and now they're like, WTF, like what's going on?
Other aspects that I want to highlight that is just kind of newly coalescing for me, which is that traditionally, people talk about the flow state based on the different brainwave patterns. Your audience might be familiar with like the beta brainwave patterns, more like analytical problem solving. The alpha is like joyful, relaxed, playful, kind of peaceful and playful kind of state. The theta and delta, those are like the falling asleep healing states or completely asleep states. The gamma is where you have those eureka moments of like those huge surge of sudden insights and very rapid brainwave activities. All these kinds of brainwave states. The idea is that our conventional public school upbringing over dominates just pure beta activity and forgets about all the other ones as if they're not valuable. So it's not that the beta analytical, logical thinking state is not valuable. It's that we're missing out on all the gifts that are available in the other ones. So I used to think that the blindfold vision state was, is it alpha training or is it theta training? Because sometimes the kids are telling us, like, we know that when they're in a playful, joyful state, we do some breathing, they're more peaceful, and then we're in fun and games. And when they're smiling, the windows get more clear. Their perception gets more clear. So I'm like, oh, this must be some kind of alpha training that we're doing. And then sometimes the kids tell us, oh, I feel really sleepy. I'm in kind of like a half wake, half dream state. And then in that state, they see really clearly too. So I'm like, is this teeter-tottering between alpha and theta or theta and delta? Like, what's going on here? But sometimes the kids are on fire and they like get 10 in a row, 20 in a row, and they're like boom, 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 boom. And they'll read a book and then they'll be rapid fire, seeing all kinds of things. And then afterwards they'll say, oh, I feel kind of tired. And that suggests that it's like a gamma state where it's like rapid insights coming through. They're seeing a lot, processing tons of information very fast in this amazing way. Now I'm thinking, are all of those firing at the same time here? And the beta part is very interesting because we've had many families say, well, you know, at this age, like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, we have a lot of families where the kids are just starting to learn to read. So our prerequisite is that your kid doesn't have to read yet, but as long as they can name shapes and colors and maybe just know their ABCs, they can fully participate in all of our activities just perfectly, right? So many of the families will report like, yeah, my kid can't really read yet. Well, with the blindfold vision training, they put on the blindfold and they give the kid a book. Suddenly the kids start reading fluently. What is going on here? The kids reading more fluently blindfolded than without their blindfolded. Yeah. What is going on? So that's where we started thinking this is some kind of super coherent flow state training. And then I'm looking back on how my child at age 5 started his blindfold vision training journey. And there's like a way in which he squirms his body and gets himself into this state of attunement that I've kind of noticed with the blindfold vision. And then, as you guys know, I'm sorry to be a braggy, proud mom. My kid is pretty good at math, you know? So I really noticed that when he does math, when we were doing 3rd, 4th, 5th grade math, it came pretty easy to him. As we got into 6th, 7th, 8th grade math, now he's doing 10th grade math. Like, as it got harder, whenever we bumped into difficult math questions.
This is a 10-year-old, by the way, people doing 10th grade math.
Yeah, this is a 10-year-old doing 10th grade math. He would take a deep breath and kind of like get himself into his blindfold vision state. And I'm like, honey, you're doing math. Focus. You know, I get my like Asian helicopter mom thing on. I'm like, you should focus. Try harder, you know? And he would look at me like I'm an alien. He's like, Mama, I'm trying to get the answer from space. Can't you see? So he does his blindfold vision state, takes a deep breath, squirms his body as if to attune his channels, and he grabs the answers from space, he tells me. And then he will distill it back to the steps and he work out like the sub parts of it. But the big picture, knowing of the answer, he's in his blindfold vision state to grab the answer from space. So is it possible, like we're seeing enhanced academics with this work too. So this new generation of human beings, they're tapping into a consistent, super coherent flow state where maybe they have really fluid access or simultaneous access to all the brainwave states at the same time. Research needs to be done, which is why I'm launching a 501c3 to really build up this body of work, because we're just starting to understand how the human being functions and operates in this super coherent flow state.
It reminds me of Walter Russell too, and like his illuminated state, like tapping into universal mind and like having these abilities. Like I became like an expert sculptor and poet and writer, like, and musician, and like he didn't really train super hard in a lot of these things. I think he was able to just tap into something, whatever that is, you know, like the place where all knowledge exists or experience exists, and you know, space, as your child says.
Yeah, I mean, it's
there's
crazy. Like,
examples.
there's so many examples. Like, I mean, just this is like a, you know, a more close to home example. But just recently, like Alyssa, my wife, like I've never seen her paint in my life before ever. Then all of a sudden, she just starts having this urge to start watercolor painting. Like, I need to start watercolor painting. She buys all the tools, buys all the equipment. Like her first two paintings, I'm like, this could have come out from someone that has been painting for 10 years. It just blows my mind. Just like, what is happening right now? You know, but it's like how these skills are acquired and how they come to us in certain moments, and all of a sudden we just do the thing. I mean, it's beyond the current explanations in many ways.
Yeah, I'm still a huge fan of, I don't know about hard work, but putting in work and putting in discipline and consistency.
Yeah.
And at the same time, what these children are showing us that like hard work can get you from here to here. For those listening to the audio, I'm just going like a couple of inches up. And then the joyful, super coherent flow state can catapult you to a whole different octave of possibility.
I mean, it's integration of opposites. Like there's gifts to the hard work, but if you're just doing that, what does your life look like? If it's just hard work and no play and no openness and no imagination, you're going to be a certain kind of individual. Your life is going to look a certain way. But if there's balance, of course, the cliche word balance, but if there's balance there, like what is that? What is possible with that individual, you know, that has the capacity to maybe to be disciplined and be consistent in their work, and also the ability to turn on just like the more relaxed and playful and just let's see what happens, and tapping into something else. Like it's that dance of opposites that I think brings the magic forward in a lot of ways. That's just been my personal experience.
Here. Cheers.
Cheers. Edith, so great to have you. So great to share this conversation. Like it feels like an honor for me to help kind of break this ground with you with these developments. But I mean, I can't imagine the honor that you must feel to really, you know, be called to bring it into the fray, to research it, to develop these classes, these courses, you know, and be such a, you know, the tip of the spear in many ways in terms of, you know, where we're headed.
Yeah, it's a really deep and sacred honor that I don't take lightly, especially to be surrounded by such an amazing community of moms, dads, families. You know, these are like the creme de la creme of the conscious, attuned, awake, aware moms and dads that are, I know that in the community, we have the people that are, you know, like pioneers to have the courage to break out of the mold of the standard norms of societies. But these are like the pioneers amongst pioneers that come to our program. And so I feel a deep sacred honor and also a great responsibility to do a really beautiful job of facilitating this movement and these amazing children that my boy introduced to me before he was conceived, when he showed me, look at all these orbs of light. We're in 2013 now, and there's now already a wave of these babies coming to the planet, blanketing the earth with a new energy. And we need bodies, and we will consciously incarnate into very precise, specific families. We've all scoured the whole earth to find the perfect moms and dads who will support us and facilitate us in showing up in this new way. And we're all going to find each other. We're going to be in communities where somehow we get reconnected with each other. We'll be spread out all across the world, and we're still going to find each other. And here we are, 12 years after that, and it's actually happening right now, speaking with you guys. Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
such a beautiful, sacred honor, and I'm so grateful to play the little part that I play in this grand evolution that we're part of.
Edith, it's amazing.
Beautifully
I
said.
love this conversation. Yeah, beautifully said. And I'm so excited to see where things are going to go from here. And like you said, all these beings that are coming to this world in 10, 20, 30 years, these kids like that, have been tapping into these abilities. Like, what are their lives going to look like? And what is the world going to look like because of this magic that they're bringing into the world? And I think that's really cool to just think about and have little thought experiments, because what I'm witnessing with some of these children is just mind blowing. And then it's like, what are they going to be like as like adults? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Also, what are we going to be like, because they're infecting all of us with so much awesomeness right now? We're all activating and kind of mutating right now, just being in the presence of these children, So
I know I am.
Stepping into our next level of awesomeness together too as adults is never too late. It's always the perfect time.
It changed me the first time I saw it. And then like even listening to the telepathy tapes and then looking at things online, I'm a changed person.
Yeah.
Like I'm even more open than I was before. I'm like, what's possible? Like the sense of awe and wonder that I feel like is within me even naturally has just like, it's on steroids now.
Yeah.
It's just like, man, what else can we do?
Yeah.
What can this world look like? And that's what I want to focus on. I mean, I think we've had enough of the years of like, oh, all the stuff that's happening in the world, and let's focus on this stuff, like what's possible. Yeah. That's what's really cool to me.
But I mean, like anyone listening to this with certain a level of being, like it has to spark the question on a deeper level: who am I? Where am I? How am I perceiving? What's really going on? And just let the seed of that mystery continue to brew within you, because we're nowhere near the tip of the iceberg. Like we're at the base of it. It feels like in many ways. Edith, all that being said, like you've created a program, you've created a course. This is accessible to all these kids, soon to be accessible to adults. How can they find you? How can they get in touch?
Yeah, so my regular website is dredithubuntu.com. But instead of having to dig through my website to find the Blindfold Vision class, I got the URL, blindfold.vision. So
wow.
Go to blindfold.vision and it will fast track you directly to the program page for this. And then I would also love to be in touch with anybody that wants to support our effort to build a nonprofit 501c3, because this is wanting to go so much beyond the Blindfold Vision. So we're starting with the Kids Blindfold Vision program. We're actively training some additional facilitators so that we can offer this to many more families. So that's kind of our project right now, because we've got a quite substantial wait list of families trying to get into the program. And we really care about having an extremely high quality experience for every single family. So in order to scale, there's only so many hours in a day that Boudin and myself can facilitate these classes. So we're training some really awesome human beings, like next level awesome human beings, to join the team to help us facilitate more of these kids my And then we're also working on the adult blindfold vision training. But where this is going, especially with the tutelage and guidance from my wisdom teacher, the 14-year-old autistic savant Angel that has been teaching me some things, that this is moving into a world of telepathy for human beings. So how do we keep cultivating these expansive abilities so that we can step into a fuller expression of what it is to be human beings? So this is really just the beginning. So that's why we're building a nonprofit around this and building a team so that we can keep expanding our experiences of all of these amazing abilities that are coming online, to have the funding to do documentaries, to do scientific research, to build teams of people to facilitate more of these experiences. Because once you've had the direct experience of this, you are changed forever.
Yeah.
So we want to be here to support and facilitate these direct experiences so that we all know through our own inner knowing that these possibilities are available to every single human being. And that's the mission that we're on right now. It's a beautiful time to be alive.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely. It's an honor to know you, love you, appreciate you. It was great touching base again at Confluence. And just to speak on Confluence, like there were grown men watching this demonstration that just started crying and just started bawling, at what they were witnessing, which just really speaks to the power that this truly holds. But all that being said, guys, thank you for listening. Edith, thank you once again, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, friends, for listening in together with us. So much love.
And that wraps up today's journey. But hey, the truth train doesn't stop here. Every Friday, we drop little nuggets of wisdom straight to your inbox. We're talking mind-expanding ideas, heart-opening perspectives, and the kind of content that hopefully makes you go, whoa, I never thought of it that way. Our Friday drops like having coffee with that friend who always blows your mind. Except this friend shows up right on schedule and never asks to borrow money. So if you want to join our truth-seeking tribe, it's super easy. Just hop over to hereforthetruth.com/Friday and hit that subscribe button. No spam, no fluff, just pure unfiltered goodness delivered weekly. So if you're ready to make your Fridays a little more truthful, a little more inspiring, and a whole lot more awesome, your future self will thank you for this one. See you next time. And remember, we're always here for the truth, and we're always here for you.